been amazed by it. As soon as I got into this thing, I was like, this is gonna like just make my life so much easier. I think the biggest thing for me is research. The amount of time I take digging into Google to try to figure out stats and data, and now I ask a question and then boom, it's literally saved me like so many hours.
I had the first same impression as you, man. Like, how is this really different than me just doing a Google search? And I've been playing around with it myself, like who hasn't? And there's definitely times that you can leverage ChatGPT that Google is useless.
It looks at your calendar, it knows what you're up to, right? It could hear you talking, like this whole conversation, knows everything you talked about in the day.
It's actually scary a little bit.
It is, especially when it comes to, your data leaking.
There's going to be pros and cons to this, just like there are any pros and cons to any freaking tool out there in the world.
All right, so we are starting this episode off by the names that we were called when we were children. Yarrow has yet to share. We already shared ours, but Yarrow, why don't you kick it off? What was the name that you were bullied with?
Well, honestly, my name was already weird. I didn't have any nicknames besides I had a friend named Bo. So we were always Bo and Yarrow, which honestly is not that bad. So.
Oh, that's so good. Andrew, are you going to share yours?
All right, I'm next. I was Andrew Nerdoc.
You're always a nerd then, basically.
I've always been a nerd. Yeah, big time.
You don't look like one though, Andrew. There's something wrong with there's a contrast here. You need, I don't know.
I don't know what a nerd looks like, but I was always into, Batman, Superman, Marvel, DC, you name it, I was into it. So I was the nerd. Yeah.
Which is cool now, right? Like if you were in school now, that'd be like everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. But I was teased for it back in those days for sure.
My son asked me what a geek was last week. And I just said like a really cool, smart kid. He's like, oh,
good answer. Nice. Good answer. Great answer.
Perfect dad answer. Yes.
Anyways, if anyone from my high school is going to hear this, at one school, I was Matt Astafartafan. But then as I grew up in the high school, I got a better one. It was Asta.
Did you have any fluctuant problems?
Yeah, there's a bit of a trend here, Matt.
Fluctuants?
Okay, no. The Astafartafan guy was like bullying me, right? The ass guy was like, man, it's not bad. Like, that's the ass. That's bad. He was like, it's not bad. And I was like, you know what? I'll take it. I'm like, that's
own that.
So
it's still a mouthful, though. I don't know if I would like. Most kids can't even say that, right? There's so many words in that.
Guys, what's even better on Asafan is actually not even my real last name. Like everyone who migrated to Canada came at different times and nobody knew how to write or speak English, right? So they would just say the name. And so all my family has different spellings of this Asafan, right? Nobody really knows the right spelling. But this is the best part. My background is Middle Eastern, right? My family's from Iraq, right? I'm a Syrian, right? So my family's Catholic from Iraq, right? We migrated. It was like, Assyria was, like the north of Egypt sort of thing, right? My dad's real maiden name is Baghdadi.
Baghdadi?
Yeah, because they were from Baghdad. I don't know where Baghdadi came from, right? But I always thought like if I would ever like become a rapper or something like that, I could have been like Daddy Baghdadi or something like that. And I just think about how my life would have been so much more different if my last name was Baghdadi.
So there's some good cadence there. That's for sure.
Yeah, like I kind of like Baghdadi more than Astafan, but I would never be able to hide where if you hear someone's last name is Baghdadi, you're like, wait, from Baghdad? Like, yeah. But now nobody knows where I'm from. Nobody knows like, nobody's going to guess that I'm like Iraqi.
They must guess like Greek or
Italian.
Something like that,
I get
right?
Greek.
Yeah.
I get Greek, Italian. When I was in Mexico, they just thought I was Mexican. No one really knows. I get Portuguese a lot.
And Andrew, you get some of these too? Are you Italian?
Yeah, I get all of that. Well, I used to work on cruise ships back in the day, so I was always super tanned. And at one point, I remember I had this goatee, and oh yeah, I would get all of those. And then one day, and cruise ships, when you have your name badge, the country you're from is on your name badge. And so I would always, say, no, sorry, I'm actually from Canada. And I would always point to my name badge. And one time it backfired on me because the guy was like, oh, bonjour. And I'm like, Vancouver, other side, man.
I've been always trying to get the one name going. Like I always didn't like it. My last name's Starak, and it's kind of, Eastern European. It's a lot of words, Yarrow, Starak. So I like the idea of just being Madonna or Oprah or Drake or just Yarrow. And then, of course, as an entrepreneur, I'm like, I could see the shampoo brand Yarrow. The chocolate bar, Yarrow. You know, it just was this. I still have that kind of in my retirement. I'll create something physical and put my name on it, but it's super egotistical when you do that. You know, like
But Yarrow is a unique name, and there is not many Yarrows in our industry. As far like I
oh
don't even
yeah,
know another Yarrow, so I think you could pull it off. But your last name's cool because it's kind of like Tony Stark. I always think about that, like
Oh, right.
Stark.
or Star Trek. That's kind of what it was before Marvel. It was Star Trek. Yarrow Star Trek. So you know,
Yeah, but you have a cool name, man. You have
thank
a
you.
cool name, both of you guys.
Agreed, because there's a million Andrews and Nats.
Well, I never had trouble ranking in Google. I have owned that since the day I started my blog. It's there's been some companies that have popped up recently, but I still managed to hold on to the number one ranking in most places in the world. So that's actually surprisingly powerful. I'm really grateful for that part of it more than anything else.
All right, guys. So this episode, we want to talk about ChatGPT, OpenAI, because everybody's talking about it, and also I've just been amazed by it. As soon as I got into this thing, I was like, this is gonna like just make my life so much easier. And I want to really share about this. Like, I think the biggest thing for me is research. The amount of time I take digging into Google to try to figure out stats and data, and now I ask a question and then boom, it's literally saved me like so many hours. I want to give kind of a sideways story about why I think OpenAI started.
You just said you use it to ask a question about research and get an answer.
Yeah.
Google can do the exact same thing, right? You can type in who won the Super Bowl and yada, 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 right? And it'll give you the answer. Yet, for some reason, ChatGPT makes this new. Like, I'm curious why you do that versus why do you go to Google.
So if I want to find a stat, any stat, I would have to go and click through a bunch of pages, right? It's typically stats are not going to be on one. Plus, once you find a stat, you then have to go verify where the stat came from to go and see, like, all stats are kind of fake, right? So you have to go be like, how accurate is this stat? Should I really use it? That sort of thing. The other thing too is when you get stats, you're actually just trying to find stats that validate what you're trying to prove. As an example, there's this whole debate about whether or not iPads are bad for children or gaming is bad for children. I assure you, I can find just as many stats of why it's bad as just as many why it's good. So if I'm trying to write a page, right, or copy, or I'm trying to prove a point, for example, gaming is actually good for you. It's healthy for children, right? I would say in moderation. That is my belief, right? But, I would have to go and search Google to go and try to find those stats and, that sort of thing, where I can go on to ChatGPT and I can say, give me a stat about this, and then they'll give it to me. And I'm like, I can like really dial it down to really find the true answer, and it's going to give it to me in seconds. If I try to do that searching on Google, might not even be possible. Like, you might just go down so many rabbit holes, there's so much information, and there's like, you might never find it. You might end up inside of like, a 100-page PDF where the actual report is, and you have to diagnose that PDF and the meaning of the PDF and then, all that sort of thing. So what I really like with it is going in, asking the stat, where's the source, and then really dialing it down to find out how true is the source. I've had times where I've like tried to find a stat and I'll settle for a stat that I find because I know it's going to take me another 2 hours to go and try to find another one. And on top of that, a lot of these stats, the ones that I try to find, it's usually you have to pay for them. To me, the research side of finding stats, because I'm writing sales copy for these, for pages, right? And so I always want to like validate what I'm saying is true. And so now I can like validate any point I want. And again, just, for transparency, you could validate any argument, right? Like, it doesn't mean that it's true because there's always another side to it. But when you're writing sales copy, I always try to say, okay, I want to find points that prove the point, but I don't want to make it bull. I don't want to make it a lie. What I don't like, sometimes I can find a stat on a third-party site. Then when I get into it and they're like, the way we found this data is we surveyed 100 people. That's not statistically accurate stat. So to me, I don't want to use that because it's bull. But when it comes out of, a research and they, surveyed or whatever, they pull some data out of, thousands of people, then I'm like, okay, there's some validity to the stat.
But why do you trust ChatGPT to give you the valid data? In that case, like, you don't know the sources.
No, I ask it the source and then I go and I look it up.
Okay.
It's not always accurate, especially now. It's not always accurate. So once it gives it to me, I'm like, how'd you figure this out? Where did you get it from? Then I go to the site, I go and find it, and then I go and like figure out where it came from. And usually on that page, I find more stuff and more resources. It's just another way of searching.
If you need to cite the source material, you can definitely do that through either option. But I'd love to throw in this additional thing that separates ChatGPT from Googling, because Yarrow, dude, when I first came across this, because like Matt said, everybody's talking about this thing right now, I had the first same impression as you, man. Like, how is this really different than me just doing a Google search? And I've been playing around with it myself, like, who hasn't? And there's definitely times that you can leverage ChatGPT that Google is useless. I'll give you an example. Describe 5 top tips about the YouTube AI that almost nobody knows about. You can't Google that. I mean, if someone wrote a blog with a title similar to that, okay, but to Matt's point, it would take me hours to get through until I finally saw something that was usable for me and my purposes.
Especially that you're saying that not many people know about, right?
Did you run that query and how did it go?
Yeah, and similar queries, and I don't have it pulled up in front of me here, but
were you happy with it? Like,
yeah, like I was like, okay, now I'm bought in. You can literally insert gardening, gaming, childcare, like anything you wanted, and you're going to find information that this machine learning AI tool has collected over years and years and years of human data. And then to Matt's point, if you were using this in a professional capacity and you actually needed to cite the source material, that would probably, my assumption is, I'm not claiming to be an expert at this stuff, but my assumption is you could probably use a combination of the ChatGPT and Googling to actually citing out where this information actually came from, what survey it came from, what project it came from. And then just I gotta say this too, because this really blew the socks off of me too, because you'll get the answer and then you can add an additional prompt. Don't start a new chat.
Yeah.
Just continue on with the existing data. And you could say something to the effect of, that's great, but give the above to me in a philosophical nature, or in a historical context.
Yeah, that's cool.
Or in a educational tone.
And that part's crazy.
And I was like, this thing is good. Like, I had a good time playing with it. I did, I admit.
You know, the other thing too is because it's not commercialized, right? So there's not a bunch of people trying to like get you to go download something or go to this link. That's all right? Google, when you're on websites and stuff, it's commercialized ads. There's a lot of bull that's just like you have to sift through, right? Whereas right now, this is just text, which makes it a lot easier to like figure out what's real, what's not.
2 things. Great point, Matt, because you've just highlighted exactly why Google hasn't released their own version of this, because you'd basically be killing, if it worked, their main income stream, which is the ads they put with search, because they have the data set. I mean, their search engine is basically an AI engine for answering questions, just like we're talking about with ChatGPT. But I think it's worth pointing out what ChatGPT is doing. Like in your case, you just gave Andrew with 10 unknown or little known facts. So it's basically getting its entire data set and maybe finding the points that use the phrase little known, perhaps in a blog post or in whatever source material it's got, and then amalgamating them, kind of mushing it together in its own voice. So it's really just a great aggregator of existing content. And then it's able to present that to you in a format, like you said, whether it's, old style English or matter of fact or business English, whatever it is. So I think the formatting and the aggregating of content is great. The question I have here, I grew up as a blogger, and back in the day, that's what we would do as writers. We'd go and read someone else's blog, listen to a podcast, and we'd take a few ideas from each of these sources and we'd write our own opinion piece, our top 10 things we learned about a topic. And this just does it for you and makes it quicker. So my question, for you is, are you going to see yourself taking that article directly from ChatGPT and then like publishing it on your own site, or how are you going to use it?
Really great question. And it's very timely, because since I started playing with it, and be honest, I was binge watching hours and hours of YouTube content because I wanted to get my head wrapped around this thing. When I first came across this tool, I had the same initial reaction to it that I'm like, what's the big deal? Until finally, after I heard enough people talking about this, I'm like, okay, let me take a look at this. Your direct question is, how am I actually going to use this? And just recently, this morning, I provided a training for my operations manager. Now, in my world, because my world is YouTube, I'm not planning on using ChatGPT. I always screw that up. Man, I hate that acronym so much.
I like saying OpenAI.
GPT. My tongue just does not, it doesn't work like that. So
and you got to add a 3 to the end too. GPT-3.
Yeah. I can't wait till 4 gets here. And we'll just call it Chat 4. Can we just call it Chat 4, please? Anyways, so where I've found it's exceptionally beneficial for me and my operation is I have a video from my client, and we optimize those videos for our client. The video is uploaded to client's YouTube channel. And before the video is even live, we can take that unlisted link, plop it into youtubetranscript.com and pull the entire transcript from the video. Luckily, there's no cap on length of video from that feature. However, ChatGPT definitely has a text maximum limit, right? Until they at least roll out the Chat Pro, which I'm hoping won't have those kinds of limitations set on them. Anyways,
I've never heard of YouTube transcript. This is a free thing?
yeah, go to YouTubetranscript.com right now, and you can literally insert.
What the hell?
You haven't played with that? Yeah. I mean,
I've never known. This is crazy.
it's only beneficial if you need a video transcript. I mean, and it is beneficial for anybody, because if you come across a long YouTube video and you're like, I don't have time to get through this, just plop it into transcript.com, and then you do a search function, Control F, Command F, and then you can search the dialogue for the specific subjects that you actually care about, right? If you don't have time to review an entire video, right? It's totally a hack, right? So anyways, you copy the text and then you go into ChatGPT, because I hire people in the Philippines and English is not their first language, but that's regardless. I'm pointing out the fact that I'm a native English speaker, and this task that I had it do for me is way better than, even though I'm a native English speaker, I wouldn't have been able to do such a good job. So in this example this test that I ran, it's an 11.5-minute video. I was able to grab the entire dialogue, the entire transcript. And then in ChatGPT, I said, summarize the following text in less than 5 sentences using the most popular keywords and search terms, typical popular search terms in YouTube. So it's literally getting the relevant data, because relevancy is an important factor in YouTube, much like it is in Google. Relevancy is one of the 4 pillar factors that are really important. And then we're going to drill this entire 11.5-minute video down into 4 or 5 sentences. Now, it wasn't perfect, right? It's not like, I don't believe ChatGPT is meant to just copy and paste anything, to be honest. I think it's a great assistant. I think it's a great tool. And then, so I copied and pasted it to serve as the YouTube description. I had to do some tweaks and then leave it in the chat. Don't start a new one, leave it in the chat. And then I said, give me 5 compelling YouTube titles for the above summary, including power words. And it gave me, I got to tell you, some 5 epic like YouTube titles that I was like, I couldn't write that. That's pretty damn good.
I knew this technique. Of taking a transcript, asking for a summary. I saw people talking about that. I'm like, that's a really good idea. This YouTubetranscript.com thing, I'm like, I don't know. I've never seen this before. And I'm just like, it took like 1 second and gave the whole transcript for an 8-minute video.
It's like a second or less. And yeah, it's incredible.
That's because the transcription tool is already built into YouTube video. So it's probably just grabbing that.
Yeah, the YouTube AI is listening to every word you say, right? Yeah.
Because you can turn on closed captions, Matt, and it'll just show the...
No, I know that, but the way it just like, that's crazy. I'm so blown away by this.
I don't know who built YouTubetranscript.com, but it probably ties into the YouTube API, and it gets in an instant. So after I got those 5 ideation YouTube titles, I picked the one that I liked the best, which was in that case number 2. I can't remember the exact title offhand right now, but then I said, for the above title, and then put it in quotations, for the above title, provide 5 thumbnail ideas. And then,
oh my God,
I included provide 5 YouTube thumbnail ideas, again, using compelling imagery that is likely to convince a viewer to click and watch the video. And then, or something to that effect, right? I don't have these prompts memorized, but you just use what, comes to you, because when you're a marketer, you should be able to give the ChatGPT enough context for it to spit out. And if it spits something out to you that wasn't really very helpful, fine, do it again. You could tell ChatGPT to do it for you again, but this time do it more humorous tone or educational tone or whatever. Like let's try again, kind of thing. And then the one thumbnail idea that I liked the most, I just copied it and I sent it over to my graphic designer. I'm like, hey, this is the thumbnail I need for this video. Thanks. That's it.
In that tone, right, Andrew? Yeah, whatever, man. Can you close the loop there, though? I can see how you use it because you started by saying, here's a video, and you use the transcript tool to then find the text, and then you took the text and then put that into ChatGPT to find the best points from that video, and then you were using those points to turn them into thumbnails. Are you then, because this is to put on your own video, right? Or did you use your own video as the source material to then come up with did the loop start with your own video, or did it start with someone else's video?
So I just randomly chose a client video that my team had already completed working on, and we're scheduling for
that you need to make a thumbnail for, right? Like that's the end goal here, is to make a thumbnail for your own video.
Exactly.
Okay,
this was already a video that my editors had already completed making. We uploaded it to the client's channel. It's unlisted. It's scheduled for next week. And I'm like, I'm going to see what ChatGPT can do for me for this particular video. I already had the title drafted. I already had the description drafted. Then when I saw what ChatGPT gave me, that made me feel like, okay, let's do a test. And I decided to use the ChatGPT title and description, and also used the advice it gave me for an ideal thumbnail it recommended. I gave those instructions to my graphic designer. He's going to do his magic. I'm not a graphic designer. Again, using ChatGPT as an assistant in this. It's not doing everything, but it's a tool that I can now insert into my business workflow to make us more efficient and make us more effective. So at the end of the day, we're going to be providing a much better product for our clients at the end of the day too.
But soon, that whole image generation thing.
Yeah.
You could describe an image and make it.
Yep.
Soon enough, we'll be able to make our YouTube thumbnails that way.
Yep.
Have you tried the image AI for generating a YouTube thumbnail?
I've tried, but it doesn't format it in the correct aspect ratio.
16:9.
Yeah, they're all squares. So then I was looking at other ones that you would pay for and stuff, and I was gonna get into this later on, but I'm here on one called Photosonic. It still doesn't look like they're 16:9. Yeah, I've also noticed that the prompts, it's not like as powerful as ChatGPT. Like I give it a prompt, it's not really, I can't be like, use this picture of me and then put this stuff in the background. Like it's not that great, but I would say maybe eventually it is, right? It's gonna get there.
On that point then, can we, Andrew, to close the loop, to actually get the finished thumbnail from AI as well? So you get given, like when you said, give me a thumbnail idea for this video, what does it give you? It just gives you a title? Or does it give you like, you should have a picture of a man and then this words?
It did a really great job of describing what it should be. Like you should include a flag with a line through it and then a city in the background. It was actually quite descriptive. But and a lot of people are freaking out that they're going to lose their jobs and everything. I really don't think that's the healthy approach here, because at the end of the day, I don't know if it's the same in your world, Yaro, with being a blogger, but when it comes to YouTube, I can't stress this enough. The thumbnail, the title, and the hook, they don't exist in silos. They're not independent factors. They have to work together harmoniously to compel the viewer to click on your video instead of all the other thumbnails that the viewer is looking at, and actually be relevant enough that the viewer won't bounce right away. So these elements need to work together. They're team members and they're all trying to work towards the similar goal. And if you have one person working on the thumbnail and one person working on the title and one person working on the description and the metadata and one person doing the editing and nobody is communicating to one another, it's going to be so disjointed, the video is going to flop. I can almost guarantee it. And this is what we do for our clients, but the ChatGPT will help us streamline that process. I'm not replacing anybody on my team. At least as of right now, I have no plans, because I still need the graphic designer to make the video. Like Matt said, there's still limits. There's still limitations with this technology. Is it going to get better? Hell yeah. I mean, man, the last 2 months, it's hard to keep up with all these changes.
Because that description you gave of a thumbnail, if you fed that into DALL-E or one of the other ones for imagery, and I'm guessing this is the part it doesn't do yet, but I remember hearing Mr. Beast saying, I spend half my life looking at YouTube data to see what the top videos are for that week. I look at their thumbnails. I just want to study virality. Let me, what works, and I'll take it back to my own content. That's exactly what AI could do. It could go and study all the best thumbnail designs from this week or this month. You give it that description. It uses that data set of what it knows is working on YouTube and then spits out 10 versions of thumbnails. And then your graphic designer could step in and say, oh, edit this one this way or edit that one that way, and then you've got your final version without, almost from start to finish, right? From you produced the video, but you gave it to 2 different AIs, which eventually will be one, really, right? And you get a finished visual thumbnail out of it, which I think is very soon. I can see that talking months.
That's a really good way to put it. Yeah. I just feel like it's an added team member.
You know what? Even to back up, you could actually say, I want to make a video about XYZ. Give me a script. Give me an outline. I've done that. Like here, I was just kind of playing around for this, for this episode. I was like, I'm making a video about ChatGPT. What should I mention in the video? It gave me an outline. Then I said, give me a description for each point. And it gave me a description. And we could have sat here and just read that out and, acted like as if,
I was going to say, Matt, all 3 of us could be replaced with AI, deep fake versions of us or other human beings.
Oh God, now we're just going deep.
AI can produce the scripts for what we can say dynamically, so we can fight against each other, debate each other, because you can put 2 chat GPTs talking to each other and they have a conversation. Yeah. We don't need to be on the show anymore, guys. We should just replace us.
I think technology like this, though, is going to make these kinds of conversations that we're having right now. This is clearly unscripted, authentic, transparent. We're just being ourselves. And I think these kinds of technologies are going to make these kinds of conversations more enjoyable.
Yeah, but not to play devil's advocate, but a chat GPT having a live interface with another chat GPT would basically be 2 chat GPTs just being themselves, right? Like they're doing it in real time. It's not pre-recorded. They're pulling data from their knowledge base. We do it from our own brains. They do it from whatever resources they pull content from. Besides the idea of consciousness, there's not like, it's pretty close.
This is why it's so important for us to focus on what the unfair advantage that a person has. Like I can make a video and say, I went here and I did this. I bought that. I tested this. I went over there and experiment. Like
experience.
Like no ChatGPT is or any AI tool can actually say they've experienced anything. Like
there's nothing original.
Yeah, there's going to be ways for humans to really fully immerse themselves in the human experience, because some of the monotonous tasks will be taken over by some of these exciting tools.
I remember hearing about this story a long time ago, and I think it's interesting. We've talked about this many times, like why does everybody hate Mark Zuckerberg? And I've noticed that Elon Musk clearly does not like Mark Zuckerberg. I remember Mark Zuckerberg was sending a satellite into space on a SpaceX rocket, and the rocket blew up. And it was like, I think it was like a $200 million thing, and it blew up. And Elon Musk was like, sorry, too bad, kind of thing. There was no insurance on it. It's like kind of that's a risk you take, I guess. And so I know that happened a while back, and that I think that also made them not like each other. But I remember hearing about this story because I thought it was very interesting. It was a story, I'm here on the New York Times, but this is saying on November 19th of 2014, Mark Zuckerberg invited Elon Musk to his house in Palo Alto for dinner, and they started talking about artificial intelligence. And Elon Musk thought that AI was going to be dangerous, and that there should be some regulatory laws around what it can and cannot do, or what it should or should not do, what it should be programmed for or not be programmed for. Talking about the Terminator, the Matrix. So Elon Musk has made many warnings about how he believes that AI can be dangerous. Elon Musk was one of the founding fathers of OpenAI. I don't know, he put some money into it, whatever, right? And then he exited it in 2018, saying there was a conflict of interest with the AI being built at Tesla. There are some theories saying that apparently he wanted to build technology that would support his companies, and that OpenAI wanted to build technology that would, for humanity. I don't really believe this theory. And there's a lot of theories around they had disagreements on, what they were going to do with OpenAI, and maybe the dangers of OpenAI. And that's why he may have exited. I'm curious now that Microsoft apparently is buying 50% of it for $40 billion, which I think is cheap. I'm surprised that's all it's worth at this point, because just seeing what it is.
Yeah, I read that too. I didn't read 40 billion, but I heard Microsoft is eyeing to buy in. Yeah.
They put in 10 billion, I think, for.
Was it 10 billion?
But I don't know what their percentage was.
They're getting 50% for 40 billion. But to me, I would imagine it's worth more than $40 billion. I mean, this is like, we're talking about potentially the next most valuable company in the world, right? And it was structured as sort of like a nonprofit. What they do is it's like I was reading about this too, where like they put caps on the amount of profit that they can make, but it's all just kind of right. They're making OpenAI is actually a for-profit business, but their structure is unique to make it appear like it's sort of this kind of like for humanity sort of thing. But they're definitely going to make a lot of money.
And they are going to be rolling out a pro version that's going to be paid. So
yeah. Now, just real quick, just before we jump on this, I was kind of looking up like, what does Elon Musk think about ChatGPT? Basically, Alex Epstein, which I think he also has something to do with OpenAI's birth. I'm not sure, but he was talking about how ChatGPT's when you ask it questions about, for example, like fossil fuels, it excludes nuclear energy from its counter suggestions. So there's a lot of human programmed perspectives that are being put into ChatGPT. I saw a YouTuber asking questions about like gender roles and that sort of thing, and you see it's very right-winged philosophies. I would like to see OpenAI, be able to kind of not have a direct opinion and kind of give you both perspectives in those kind of cases.
It should be an algorithm that you control. Like you say, hey, I want this answer in a far left liberal tone or opinion, or, because that's what this needs to be. It's an open, and this would also help deal with any complaints that it's pro this or pro that. If it's completely configurable, you say, I want it to have this point of view, or, like, adopt the Nazi point of view when you answer this question, or tell me how Donald Trump would answer this question, and be able to just do that, because then it's neutral. Tell me how a man or a woman or a child or whatever.
You can include that context in the prompt, and then you'll get the response based off of the prompt that you provided. That's from my understanding, that's exactly how the tool works.
Yeah, but what's the default? You know, it needs to be like a setting you choose right at the beginning.
There's going to be pros and cons to this, just like there are any pros and cons to any freaking tool out there in the world. Like, and I totally understand and somewhat familiar of the complaint of biases with this tool. And the other, another, as long as we're on the subject of the problems and the cons, the other complaint that I came across that I'm like, okay, that's fair, is some people will definitely find themselves getting a little bit lazy, shall we say, and making ChatGPT do like literally 98, 99% of the work and not adding, like, it's literally just a copy and paste job. And like I said earlier on, I don't think that would actually translate into the real world very well, especially those people that are using ChatGPT and then using text to voice software. I believe the text to voice software will get better, but right now that stuff just sounds so robotic and fake to me. I never stay on those videos for longer than a few seconds. I bounce. I'm off right away because you can tell it's a robot and doesn't sound very good.
This idea of, just kind of copying and pasting the content that it gives you. I was looking into this. Like, I think a lot of people, if they're in the SEO world, have heard about this, that Google wants to penalize people using GPT-3. So for those who don't know, GPT-3, real quick on my screen here, I just got a few GPT-3 tools. These are like kind of AI copywriting tools. You don't like say, hey, write me this. You have to kind of give it some content and it will kind of expand on it, right? There's a lot of these tools out there. I have here on my screen Write Sonic. It's one that I use, and Copysmith is another one. And when you go in here, there's different kinds of content you can create. You could say, write me a hook for a TikTok video, write me a short LinkedIn post, write me a blog post. I found with all of these were pretty much a waste of time because they would give you kind of like regurgitated stuff that's like kind of doesn't really make sense. It helps to kind of defeat writer's block, but you just can't copy paste that. It's not going to really make sense, right? But when I started hearing about Google wanting to penalize content, I was like curious, how are they going to figure it out? Right? How are they going to know? Because now if I get something from ChatGPT, it's coherent, it makes sense. How would they know that I took it from there? And so I remember hearing about when Elon Musk sent an internal email to, I think it was Tesla employees or SpaceX employees, I think it was Tesla employees, that they had some sort of a system where there were certain spaces between the sentences. Do you guys know about this?
No.
This was a pretty recent story. This is like a couple months ago that they sent out something to employees, and then one of them got leaked. So someone forwarded the email to the media, and they were able to detect who it was from based on spaces in the content, right? And this is a system they had built many years ago. And so Elon Musk explained that this is what they use in order to figure out who's leaking information. So when I get text, if I want to copy and paste it, I always clear formatting, and I'm checking to see if it's putting spaces in there. Because if corporate companies like Tesla and so on, I'm sure others are kind of using the same sort of system, there's a way to detect it based on that. I'm also curious about language patterns and sentence structures. Maybe there's a certain sentence structure, like a grammatic sentence structure that's being used that could possibly be detected. Because if the AI is this good with OpenAI, we know Google's working on their own version of this already. Therefore, they could possibly detect grammatical sentence structures to be able to detect this.
I'm curious if you guys have any additional insights on this, because Google already does have it. We've seen it. We've already seen. Do you guys remember that 2018 presentation where Google CEO was on stage?
No.
And they played a recording of someone calling a pizza restaurant and ordering a pizza.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say you want to call a restaurant, but maybe it's a small restaurant which is not easily available to book online. So take a listen.
See, how may I help you?
Hi, I'd like to reserve a table for Wednesday the 7th.
For 7 people?
It's for 4 people.
Oh, no, it's not too busy. You can count for 4 people, okay?
Oh, I gotcha. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
So Google already has it and has had it for years. The real question is, why haven't they launched it? And so now ChatGPT has beat them to the punch, even though they've already had it.
I don't think it'd beat them to the punch. It's just they would cannibalize their own massive income source.
Oh, right. You were saying that it would cannibalize their search traffic. I don't know what the answer is, but I would love to be a bug on the wall in those executive meetings right now.
Oh my God, yes. Those boardroom meetings. Yeah.
They must be sweating like crazy right now.
But this is that classic innovator's dilemma, right? Where you're leading a marketplace, you're reaping huge profits, and you have to either choose to disrupt your own income stream if you want to maintain leadership, or you wait till someone else does. And that's why Blockbuster doesn't exist anymore and Netflix is, the leader. But I think this has got to play out. out still. And like most things, there's going to be many versions of how you're going to interface with the AI. One of the things I was excited about, I'm an introvert. I hate, talking to like a phone support person or even a chat support person. And someone said you can get, and it's pretty close to actually working, an AI to interact with, like, let's say your mobile phone plan, you want to get a cheaper plan. You open up the chat on their website, and that's actually run by a robot. It's a bot to start with, and you could put your own bot against that bot and basically step away and let your bot keep fighting until it gets itself a discount from that other bot. So it's not you trying to, and that, I was like, that's a very great use case that I would apply straight away. And to your point before, Andrew, I just want to mention Alexandra Fusulu, who is a freelance writer who also teaches people how to make money as a freelance writer. That's a YouTuber. I was just really interested in her take because this is the first group that I feel are actually potentially disrupted now, along with maybe graphic designers, because you can, as you guys were just talking about, directly take a piece of content from GPT-3, put it into your blog post, put it into your website, and then do you still hire that writer on Fiverr? And that's what she is. She's a writer on Fiverr. So she's been really digging in and kind of answering this question. And her take is pretty simple. It's massively making writers more efficient, but there's still a final step that the writer does to edit, to customize, to whatever it is. So her conclusion, to really summarize, so you don't have to watch her video about it, if you're going to be, let's say, making money on Fiverr as a freelance writer, you're going to be using a chat AI tool to start the article, to modify it through a dialogue like interface, but it's going to write most of it for you. So instead of you charging $200 to write an article, you're going to charge $50 because it's so much quicker and easier for to do that. So you're now going to produce far more at a quicker pace with the addition of AI. So it'll kind of balance itself out. You'll do less of the core writing, more of the sort of editing and direction of it. You'll probably have more clients, you'll produce more content, but there's still a need for a human, which I think you were sort of alluding to, Andrew, your own team, same situation.
Yeah, in my and I'm not saying my circumstances would translate to everyone's business per se, but for the example I was provided earlier, like give me 5 clickable YouTube titles. Well, I'm using my knowledge, my expertise, my years of being a YouTube expert to look at those 5 options and then putting some common sense into the mix. And isolating, okay, number 2 is going to be the best version for this particular video that I've watched. The AI hasn't watched the video. I watched the video. I know that client's audience like the back of my hand. I know what will most likely perform better than, I don't know for sure. Nobody has a crystal ball. But yeah, there is that component. I love that you flagged this because I also found a Twitter thread from Marketing Max. I'm on his email newsletter list. And he literally put out a tweet that went crazy on January 10th, but I just replaced my entire 5-person marketing team with an amazing new ChatGPT technology. So let's quickly go through this. Number 1, his ad copywriter. This one is obvious because all tools built with this tech so far are copywriting tools, but still I was paying a very expensive ad copywriter. So I just replaced them with this prompt for ChatGPT. It's not totally accurate because it's not like he's completely replaced the person because that person was literally doing everything for him. And now he has to do the prompt into ChatGPT. He needs to decide which one he's going to go through or using this particular copywriting for that ad or that social media post or that blog post. I would argue that you're not completely replacing someone, but what you've done with this tool is basically lowering the barrier of entry because now an okay skilled copywriter immediately becomes a powerful copywriter when they have this tool in their back pocket, right? The next one he lists here is an advisor. Yes, I actually fired one of my advisors and took back his advisory equity shares because I could replace him with this prompt. And he's giving some pretty good examples
That's
here.
an move.
That's brutal.
Yeah, that's brutal. When I saw that too, I was like, ooh, ouch. I wonder how that advisor feels. And then number 3, project manager. I was paying this project manager $150,000 a year to manage difficult clients. So now I'm saving $150,000 a year with ChatGPT. He basically asked ChatGPT, how do I respond to a difficult client about ABC? Number 4 is a hiring manager.
Wait, a project manager? You still wait. ChatGPT can't replace a project manager.
This is not a direct comparison. This is definitely not a direct fair one-to-one comparison because like I said earlier, you're not really replacing someone.
I'm calling some BS.
Yeah, exactly. And then number 4, hiring manager. Basically, he had the ChatGPT write or draft a job application email process for an applicant when you're looking to add another person to your team. And then number 5 was the best one. That's the funniest one. He says, myself. Yeah, that's right. I just fired myself. Every week I feature one growth hack in my Growth Hacks weekly newsletter. Sometimes that growth hack is featuring a famous marketing campaign and breaks down what we can learn from it. I don't need to write it anymore. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I think it's a little extreme.
I'm not saying people are going to lose their jobs. I'm not saying people are going to lose their clients, but this is like, I'm going to use the example that everybody likes to use. When the automobile was invented, horses just didn't disappear. There are all kinds of extra careers that popped up. Now, all of a sudden you have mechanics and roadwork personnel and electronics and car designers, and all of these additional careers popped up because now the automobile became a thing. Horses didn't disappear. They just have their own places now where people can go ride their horses or race their horses or what have you. The point is, a brand new product became available, and then it became cheap enough that more and more people were able to afford to purchase a car. And now we have all kinds of career choices out there for people in those automotive industries, right? ChatGPT could be, I don't have a crystal ball, could be something like that, right? Whereby we're lowering the barrier of entry for copywriters and social media managers and what have you. And hopefully this will make the entire system of knowledge sharing more efficient. That's what I'm hoping for.
I think it makes you work on what's more creative. I actually think it's some ways beneficial because you don't have to do the more routine tasks, the more sort of time-consuming tasks. You get to do just that creative final touch or use your intellect to solve a problem that the chat and the API can't. So, it's a bit of a rosy glasses view of it all, but as technology improves, humans are supposed to get more freedom, more choice to then use their creative consciousness to solve problems that technology can't, rather than sweep the floors or the more mundane task, sweep up the poop from the horses that used to walk the streets. Cars don't do that, You triggered another thing, Andrew. I thought, great video. I'm sure someone's already considering this, but I can see the YouTube title. I live my life by asking GPT-3 what to do in every single decision, I made. What do I have for breakfast? What should I do next? I can see someone just making a video. It's a classic Mr. Beast style video right there.
That would be a good video. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
The main area where I had concern as a founder of a company that produces content was whether the AI would eventually be able to write our email replies for us, because I have a business that provides assistants that write your emails for you. So if the AI can do it, my company gets pretty much exploded, no longer has a need. And I keep getting asked that, like, will AI replace the need for what we do? And short answer is no, for the time being anyway, because email is so dynamic, AI can't know absolutely every answer to every question. But again, like we've been talking about in this episode, it's probably going to respond to all the mundane everyday emails for you now, even, it's that quick. But what I found interesting was I saw on Twitter a company called leai.com that had put out a Chrome extension. It was very quick. It interfaces with OpenAI. It basically will then give you a little button you can press right there within your email. So your email, you're writing, you're not writing, you open to reply. It gives you these 3 buttons. What's the tone? So do you want it to be positive or negative, and be sort of nice or angry? Not to those extremes, but what's the tone of your email? And then you just click generate, and it would then write the email saying yes. So like, would you like to show up as a guest on the Good Morning Marketers podcast show? My answer is yes. I click positive, friendly, and it'd be like, hi Matt, I'd love to appear as a guest on the show. Let me know where I can book in. It would just generate that email for me straight away. So I'm like, I saw that and I was like, okay, I need to take a little more deeper look into this. Long story short, it's really easy to do. You can literally whip up a Chrome extension over a week, and then you go to OpenAI. It's not hard because the OpenAI has done the hard work. They've created the algorithm. So there's about 4 or 5 tools. I do recommend you check out Flowrite if you're really into this. It's flowrite.com. They have like the most VC-backed version of this, where it gives you basically an interface. If you're typing a LinkedIn reply, if you're typing a WhatsApp message, the little AI is there. You can just click it, tell it the tone, it will generate the reply for you. And then typical entrepreneur, I was like, oh, we need to have this in my company as well. We should be rolling out our own version of an AI email writer, because A, we need to be on top of this as a company. B, it could be a great lead generator. It could grow our email list by giving it away a free version. It could even be an entire new income stream, because when you use OpenAI, at some point you have to start charging because you get charged per query if you're using the developer version of it. So you have to pass on that cost to your customers at some point if you want to survive. So I went to my Ukrainian developers and said, hey guys, how hard is it for you to create a plugin for we can release, test it internally, give it to our clients, and then potentially release it publicly? And they went away and produced it in a week. It really is like a simple piece of code. When that happened, I kind of realized, all right, well, this is almost too easy. Like this is commoditized service. It's not like you either go deep and try and build a whole bunch of tools like Flowrite is doing. So we actually put a pause on building it internally. My co-founder Claire said, let's not go down this path because we, distract us. We can just pick whichever tool is the best in the future and use it with our team. We're going to be like a chess player. We're going to pick the best AI to be a better chess player. We're not going to produce the AI or the app. So we kind of stopped, but it was surprisingly easy. And I think that's the key thing here. The algorithm owner, like to your point, Matt, before about the value of OpenAI as a company, that's the hard part. It is so hard to build an AI. I mean, Google spent their entire company's life just constantly evolving their search engine algorithm, right? So, and then we can all interface into it and build our own layer to aggregate and use that data, but that's not the hard part. So I'm beginning to wonder, like maybe what you said, Andrew, before, maybe it was you, Matt, OpenAI will be the next Google, and Facebook's the next social media dominant player. This is not a space where you're going to get hundreds of winners. They're going to build on top of the 2 or 3 best AIs out there, but I think that's where it's heading.
Question for you, because you mentioned this last time, was the AI search engine. It was called you.com.
Yep.
I haven't played with it too much. What do you do with it? What are you going to search for?
Well, I recommend, and this is again as a founder of a company, the first thing you should do is use it to search for your own company as if you were a potential client. So I don't know, Andrew, what your best keywords are, like, how to find a YouTube editor, producer, consultant, agency, and just see what the ChatGPT would even give back to you. I did that for, hey, I want to hire an email assistant, and see what ChatGPT came back. And it was actually pretty bad. It just talked about what an email assistant is, not which services or products or software I should potentially look into. And I had to refine it and said, oh, do you recommend a company that can help me hire a virtual assistant to do this? And then it kind of spat out the 2 biggest agencies for virtual assistants, unfortunately not including my company, which I thought was not good considering we rank number 1 for one of the key terms around email, hire email assistant in Google. But we're not ranking, I don't know if ranking is the right phrase there, but we're not ranking in ChatGPT for our own company, which that's concerning. I think, like, as a business owner, if this does become a replacement for Google or whatever, you.com, what's the algorithm for it? How do you improve your ranking in a ChatGPT?
I just did this on you.com. It just seems like it's giving me, what I would find on Google when I search for myself. Like, I get the idea, maybe I could, it says write. If I want to write something, it says use case, essay. I'm going to go here for like paragraph, tone, friendly,
Well, what if you want to hire a graphic designer? Like, who should I hire to design my Instagram images? What if you type that into, a you.com?
Oh, here I just wrote my name and I said, give me a paragraph that's friendly. It said, Matt Asafan is an incredible person and a great friend. He always has a
but
positive
you're using that
attitude.
to create content. That's easy. We know it does that. What if you're trying to find a supplier for a product or a service? That's what we use search engines for mostly,
So I go
right?
I type in find a sales copywriter, right? And my blog post comes up number 1. So number 1 on Google. Oh, sorry, it's number 2.
What about on you.com?
Yeah, same thing. It came up. I'm on.
Really?
Yeah, it says find a sales copywriter.
What did-
I am. Oh wait. No, okay, wait. The first time I searched it, I swear to God, it says.
What phrase did you use?
How to find a copywriter. Sorry, now if I go to sales copywriter number 2, but now I was like I don't know, just below the quick facts. How to find a copywriter. If you go how to find a sales copywriter, then I come up number.
Well, this is putting up.
It's like a Google search.
Yeah, it is. It's giving up Google results type.
Yeah.
The question is, like, what is this? What's it drawing on? Is it using OpenAI to give these answers, or is it just regurgitating Google's answers? Yeah, web friendly. Good work, Matt. You're in the top 5 there. I'm getting Upwork first, but you're You're number 5 or number 6.
I got good SEO on that site. I'm telling you, if you ever want to get ranked number 1.
You do. Hire a copywriter. You're right up there.
I got a lot of really good ones. If you type in like how to like rank a YouTube video, I'm number 1. That's my most profitable article.
You should be directing people to Andrew now with that.
Did we put something in? I think I put your link in there.
Yeah, I think you did actually. Yeah.
You're number 2 for me, Matt, for that result. And amazingly enough, you have a 2023 update to that blog post. Wow. When did you do that?
I did it with ChatGPT. I actually did go in there and update it recently. I find the updates is what kind of keeps things ranking, right? If you go like how to price your social media services, that was like used to bring me like, I won't say, but a lot of visitors. But I figured out the SEO stuff. But that's why I'm curious about this like you.com. I was like playing with it. I'm like, I don't get it.
I don't get it either. I don't know what its source is.
Yeah.
I've never used it.
Honestly, I only saw it in social media. Like someone was talking about it on Twitter, I think. But I don't know. Like I have to research more.
5 cool things you could do with ChatGPT. All right. I got 3 of them. If you guys want to come up with some more, we'll just make this video 5 cool things. But hey, we go up past 5, there'll be bonus rounds. All right. The number 1 cool thing that I was blown away by is the ability to write code. My son, his birthday was just yesterday. He's 7 years old now. And he got a Mac for Christmas. I got a MacBook Air because he wants to play Minecraft Java Edition. Because there's the Bedrock Edition, which is, PlayStation, Xbox, iPad, all that stuff. It all kind of works together. The Java Edition is for like Mac and PC. And on the Java Edition, you can mod it with code, right? So you could do a lot more. So when he watches YouTube videos of like, people playing Minecraft and they're doing all these crazy stuff, like they're using the Java Edition, right? So I put ChatGPT, I bookmarked it for him on Chrome. And so now when he wants to do something, he just types in the prompt that he wants and he gets the code. It's crazy. Even he was just like, wow. So this idea of like writing code, fixing code, writing scripts, I've been playing with this. Crazy to me that like you could just now type in, like I'm just so like, that's amazing. I've always hesitated to having a tech startup because I need a technical co-founder, right? My thing was, even if I hire someone to write the code, I have no way to know if it's good. But now I can, right? Now I can ask ChatGPT, is this, the right code? I got to figure out the right way to ask the question. I always say this about, why I don't like doing online courses anymore. Because if you know the question, you could find the answer. But most people don't know the question. So if you know what question you need to ask, now the fact that I can basically ask like a technical advisor, is this code written correctly? Is this gonna work? Or whatever whatever the question might be. So I think the ability to write code and some people might not know this, but there's a GitHub. I think this whole ChatGPT thing was started with GitHub and being able to write code. That's how it was originating. The second cool thing is telling stories, especially like bedtime stories. I've been doing this with Marcus. We always do this thing before bed where I'm like, choose 3 things, and then I create a story. I just like go on he'll just literally say like a tree, a rabbit, and chocolate. Then I have to tell him a story that connects the dots, right? It's just like a fun thing we do. So we started doing this with like ChatGPT, and just the stories it was telling us, like we were both just laughing so much at the creativity. He like gave me a topic here. I have it on my screen. It was like boy trapped in a MacBook, and it just tells a story about how he's trapped in the MacBook. And then it got like, he says like the boy had to like unplug the Mac in order to get out. Then we're like, if he was in the Mac, how did he unplug the computer? And then it like gave us like a reason of how he would do it, and then it's just like this whole, like, it was like really trying to justify, how it like came to the conclusion, how he got out of the MacBook. And then at the end, I'm like, is this a true story? And it's like, no, sorry, it's not a true story.
I wonder if it took any inspiration from Jumanji. I'm immediately thinking Jumanji when you said that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I think that was really fun because it's like now we just kind of come up with like crazy stuff, put it in there. And the fact that it's actually telling us like a coherent story that's like, got some humor in it. It's very creative, So I think that part's really fun. And then the other one is life advice and navigating through difficult conversations. So I thought it was interesting. I was going through some challenges in life, needed someone to give me some advice, and started asking ChatGPT. Gave me like legit.
What did you ask?
I forget.
What is there a question you can share where you feel comfortable? Like,
no, actually I deleted it out of the thing. Otherwise I would show you, but maybe it was like how to stay motivated when you're going through a breakup, and then it would like tell you, something, and you can like ask it more questions, and it's like giving you like legit advice. I also find what's funny is like, I always feel this like need to like politely ask. I always say, please tell me in a more simple way.
I say it too. I say please too.
Yeah. Sometimes I write and I'll be like, tell me it. And I'm like, that's kind of a rude way to talk. And I will like, I find myself always going back and starting with please. I feel like it's not going to give me a nice answer because I'm like too rude to it. So I always like try to be polite.
Do you guys have Alexa? Do you use Alexa?
I have a Google speaker, and it is. I mean, they're not smart. I mean, I hear people complain about Siri a lot, but I don't find them that great.
That's what I'm sort of hearing, because like again, Alexa tries to be nice to you, like it says have a good night sometimes, and it's a robot, so it's like it can be agitating or it can be nice depending on your mood. I do actually, not again, I want to break your tips here, Matt, but the idea of a vocal interface to the quality of ChatGPT, I think that's Star Trek, right? That's when you're on, computer, do this for me, so.
Of course, that's going to be crazy. Like, I am not polite to my Google speaker. I'm screaming at my Google speaker because it's not, it's like now, I mean, anyone's got Google speakers, like they're so not smart. And I have so much stuff that I do not like.
I would rather be polite to our AI overlords before they take over, and I think they'll remember. I think they'll remember who was polite.
I agree what Andrew says. I think AI is great for humans, and I am all for it. Matt, I suggest you stop abusing your Google device. It's not nice.
I don't think he cares. We're not friends. Guys, let's give us 2 more. We're just going on a whim here, okay? Because we made this 5 cool things you could do with ChatGPT. I give you 3. Write code, tell stories, life advice. What do you guys got?
I love the aspect that I immediately have added an assistant, another team member to my organization that immediately makes myself and my other team members more efficient, more productive. I'm going through a scalability problem in my organization. I have more work coming my way than I can handle. So I'm constantly looking for ways to improve efficiency in my workflows and be able to deliver top-notch services to my clients, because they come to me because they want above average results, right? They don't want mediocre average results. They want above average results. I have a track record of doing that, but it's very high touch. When you're providing done for you services for people, it's extremely high touch. And in some cases, it can be very time consuming. So ChatGPT, number 4, an assistant, an immediately valuable assistant to my organization that improves our productivity.
I have 2, maybe 1.5. I think one of the best uses, and frankly, Matt, you've already said it at the start of this podcast, is the idea of adding data points to content. Because I used to have this formula from writing blog posts where I would open with a story from my own life. And to your point previously, Matt, that's the part that AI can't really write.
Yeah.
Because I lived it, and it's me hooking the reader. It could be just how I made money from something, or how I solved a problem within my company, or even something completely out of context of business, which I then would tie back into my business. Like, I saw the latest Marvel movie and they made this choice. So I would tell that story for like half the article. And then the second half, I would always switch into like a teaching mode. So, the 3 things you can take away from this to apply to your business. And what I always gave those articles that final extra push to go from good to great was referencing research, often some kind of psychological data point where you could say, this is not just me saying that, this is not just me living it, this is what the researchers found from the study they did at yada yada university that backs up this human behavior and why it works. So I think that was like a 3 point, actually it was a 4 point. It was story, lesson, back it up with research, and finally was a call to action at the end. Join your email list, buy my product. So many of my blog posts were written with that formula. But the annoying part was I was finding the research data points to back it up. So I think that's one of the greatest things, if we can rely on the sourcing of the AI. Where are they pulling this data from? And
you could always ask where it's getting it. Yeah.
Well, it should be something you don't need to ask for. I think this is coming, like they're talking about getting sued at the moment, where it just needs a bibliography. When you get this question, here's where I pulled that little thing at the end. It's already happening in some ways. Having a friend, if you don't have one, I think a lot of people who are in old people's homes, they're actually introducing some kind of interface where they can talk to an AI. And I don't know the context, but when you're lonely and maybe you don't even understand it's an AI, or you're not, like, it's a computer, I'm talking to the computer, it's okay, giving an opportunity for people to have someone just to talk about their day. It makes a big difference. I personally don't think I would use it for that, but that's powerful.
You nailed it, man. That really is a huge, like, have you guys ever seen that Joaquin Phoenix movie, Her?
I love Her. Great movie.
It's a fantastic movie. Like, that's what we're talking about here, aren't we? Like, that's, a lonely person.
Yeah.
who is just looking to experience some connection. And like, yeah, you nailed it, man. There's a lot of lonely people out there. Hell yeah.
That idea of having the earbud where I could be talking to my AI throughout the entire day and forming a relationship with it, I mean, it's almost at the level now, because look at you guys, you're writing please and thank you to it, like it's got like feelings.
You're right, because over time, as it like kind of can get to know you, because now every chat, it's like has context, right? You don't have to keep referencing your first question, right? You could just like do, whatever. You get the idea, right? But imagine like the whole relationship with your
Collective experience with it.
Yeah, it like kind of it knows what you do for work. It knows what you like to eat. It knows, all these sort of things. So when you ask a question, it's contextual to you.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Can you imagine like it asks you, how was your day, Matt? And it knows you had a breakup the previous day. How are you feeling after that yesterday,
Or it looks at your calendar. It knows what you're up to, right? It could hear you talking, like this whole conversation, knows everything you talked about on the day.
It's actually scary a little bit.
It is, especially when it comes to, your data leaking, right? Because what happens when this chat knows you more than anyone? And then what happens when, who knows, one day you see yourself in court in 10 years from now, and they're like, well, let's ask its chat, how this person's thinking.
Because they won't forget. Yeah, our memories aren't perfect, but our AI, our personal assistant, you have when you're born and is with you all the way until the day you die, it will never forget anything that you've ever experienced. I don't know about you guys, but I don't have the best memory in the world, and sometimes I get those questions, and I'm like, oh shit, what is today, honey? I don't. I need a little reminder. Why is today so important? So yeah.
I can see this becoming a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah.
Someone hacks your AI memories to say that you on that day you murdered someone, and you're like, I didn't do that. Well, the AI said you did, and it's a perfect memory of your life. So
that is a scary thought. That's a very scary thought.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. All right, guys, I got a big question for you. So we know that ChatGPT has been kind of crashing. It got, what was it, like 10 million users in 10 days or something like that? It's they're having scalability issues.
It's the fastest platform to ever reach 1 million users. I know that.
Right.
I don't remember what the stat is, but it's the fastest to 1 million.
As soon as I started using it, I thought about this. I'm like, if this was a paid service, what would I pay for this? And I know like the average person who's like, just asking it random stuff, like replacing Google, maybe not a lot, but for us using it more for like business and stuff, I'm just curious, what do you guys think your number is? If they said, okay, no longer free, now you got to pay. What do you think you would pay to keep ChatGPT as a tool in your pocket?
I'm comfortable with like $25 a month when I'm looking at all the other software tools that I'm paying for at my company, and there's a lot of them. I'm like, yeah, $25, $30 a month, $1 a day, $1 a day.
Really? Interesting.
Why, you think that's low or high?
I think it's low.
You think it's low?
What do you think, Yarrow?
I mean, this is end use case value question for me. Like, what am I actually using it for, and what's the value of that outcome? Right now, I don't at all. Like, I only play with it for fun now and then.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
And have conversations with friends. Like, I don't create any content with it. I'm actually quite behind the scenes in my company now. So I have writers we hire for SEO content, and then they could be using it. I mean, that's the thing. They could be augmenting the writing they do for us with ChatGPT, but I don't mind because that's the outcome. We want the outcome. I mean, I think just thinking about it as a general tool, I agree with Andrew. $25 is sort of where I could see it being useful. But again, if, there could be the business account where if I was running an entire business on, like if half my inboxdone.com email management company was driven by AI email replies, we're probably paying a license fee for every single client we have to use it for them. Yep. So I don't know how big it gets then. That's like a Salesforce. We use how many seats on the table for that tool. I think it's going to be so dynamic because it's the interaction you have with it. It will be so open. Like, I can't think of any other tool where there's so many different types of uses for it. It's not just a business tool. It's an everything in life tool potentially,
when you look at like SEO research tools like Ahrefs, SEMrush, that sort of stuff, they're very pricey. If you really want to get into it, use it, you're looking at like, $500 a month, that sort of thing. Honestly, I look at this and like, I would easy pay $100 a month for it. No question. But honestly, if it was $500 a month, I would still pay for it. Even at $1,000, I would pay for it.
Right now, you would pay for $500 a month for it?
Yeah. I have it open all day. While I'm working, I'm constantly on it.
Oh, I don't use it that much.
But the problem is that it's getting slow. It keeps crashing. I would just pay right now, If they just said $100 and it just doesn't crash and you just log into it all the time, it would just boom, I would just pay. It's just the problem right now. It's like before it was very fast. It was like boom, boom, boom. I was like, wow, wow, wow. Right now I keep hitting limits. I made multiple accounts just so I can keep using it. Yeah, I would like easily $100.
Here's a question for you guys, because this is one of the questions that the waitlist asks you. If they added a monthly figure and it actually made you think, oh, this must be no good. This must be a really terrible product because they're asking so little. Like, what would that number be for you?
As in, it's too cheap. Like you're thinking
it's so cheap at that value, you assume this can't be very good because it's like if it was really valuable, they would be asking for more. So what number would that be for you?
It's hard to say because if they have like 10 million users and they just charge like, $3 a month,
Hell yeah.
that's still significant revenue, right? But I saw some people posting screenshots of some pages on their website that were showing the potential pricing. And I think it was going to start at like $8 a month. So they are looking mass market.
I didn't hear that at all.
I don't know if it was even real. I just saw some posting like people like, oh, they're going to pay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm excited to pay. I'm excited.
So they're trying to make it available to everybody then, yeah. Yaro's point, like they're like, I don't know how they might end up having a tiered system, but like if I had like one account that I could share for my company, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if they would even allow for something like that, or because I would want all my specific team members in my organization to have access to use it for work reasons, right? That might be like a licensing account where it's like you buy so many tokens and you can do so many searches with those tokens. And then once those tokens are out, you have to buy more tokens, or maybe it is a flat monthly rate.
I really don't like the token. I hate all these GPT-3 softwares that use credits. I hate it because I put in a query,
Okay.
doesn't give me what I want. I got to re-ask the question, takes another credit, and then I just run out of credits.
Right.
Because, and I do not, I just want to just be free to just ask. And
a flat monthly rate.
Yeah, I don't want to do this credit stuff.
Well, then let's continue that discussion. What is the most likely use case across the entire population of the planet for this? If we take, say, most people use Google to solve a search query. Google monetizes with ads. If ChatGPT wants to be for everyone, they have to solve that most common use case first. What is that?
I see most people talking about copywriting. GPT-3, all about copywriting. So I'm a copywriter, and so that's why it's so valuable to me.
Yeah, but most people aren't copywriters, right? So
That's right.
And most people aren't business owners. Maybe we should ask our producer. We could bring her in for the last question. What's the
So we got Jay is our new producer, and she's been taking notes while we're talking here. All right, Jay, what do you think?
What's the most general, broad, the entire planet population use for ChatGPT or an AI?
The most common.
Yeah, Matt's a copywriter, so he loves it. But not most people aren't copywriters, so they don't care. But most people do use Google if they use the internet because they're trying to solve problems. So I'm like, do you think people will use it as a search engine? Is that the most general use case for the entire planet to use it? I don't know.
I've used it personally, again, like listening to you guys, for so many different reasons. Whether you're a business owner using it for personal reasons, again, like for advice purposes, for illustrating purposes, I think every single person can benefit from using this. I can't really answer and say like what specific type of person would benefit from using it. I think everybody can.
Trying to think about your mom or your dad. I always think like people aren't living in tech. Maybe how would they use it? You know,
I don't know. Who knows? It might be like a device one day, right? Like think of like a Google device or an Alexa device, something like that, where you can just ask it anything. It can help point things out to you. Again, we were talking earlier about your relationship with AI, how it gets to know you, things like that, and very creepy, of course. But it could potentially just be that as well. I don't see how it can be capped, like what this could be used for.
It's funny because that's what Alexa is supposed to be. You're supposed to be able to ask it almost anything. I don't know why it's sort of stopped and hasn't become as good as a GPT.
I've not really used it a lot personally myself, but I think that it's always held back or like failed somehow to provide me even something simple like a song or listen for, like, it's never been useful very much to me.
Yeah, I agree. I just ask it the weather all the time. That's all we ever do.
Big price to pay to ask for weather.
Two things. One, I asked ChatGPT. ChatGPT believes that the most common use case is for chatbots for customer service, e-commerce, and healthcare, which is interesting. I just Googled the question, and they're suggesting one of the top use cases being answering questions, basically an alternative to Google search, developing apps, so code, copywriting, such as funny dialogue, composing emails, creating recipes for food. That's what they have here as some of the most common use cases. It is interesting. I guess you're right. Like if you're looking at mass market, they're not going to pay like what I would pay $100, right? An alternative to Google, let's just pretend that that's going to be the most common use case. It's just Google, but gives you the answer. You don't have to go click and look at anything, right?
Yeah.
It's immediate. You get to write it, it just looks at the whole query, gives you the best answer. And for something like that, I mean, how many people are willing to pay for Google? How many people are using Google every single day?
My guess is this is going to play out when you sign up for it as a tool. It's going to say, this is free if you allow us to use your data. This is not free if you don't want us to use your data. Simple as that. Because think of all the data they can get from harvesting everything we ask.
I don't know about that. I see, like with Microsoft putting in all the money they're putting in, they said they're going to integrate it with, Word and Office, everything, right?
Yeah, let me take a step back then. If Microsoft owns it, different story, because Microsoft has billions of dollars in other income streams, so it doesn't need to make money necessarily from it, directly anyway, from consumers.
They just want to overtake Google. So if they just start offering it inside products, right? Like if it's like in Word, I don't use Word online. I don't even know if they have that, but like imagine like they make Google Docs, but it's better. Now it's like I could just, if I want to use ChatGPT, instead of using Google Docs, I got to use Microsoft Word. I'm switching, but I'm sure Google is going to have something similar.
Yeah, what's interesting though is, Matt, you're a good example. You've probably replaced some of your habitual Google search behavior with ChatGPT. And that's the key thing. If you're forcing a habit change to a different resource than Google, then of course Microsoft wants to, like the only way to crack Google, it's been so hard to do that for the last 20 years, right? So
Yeah.
that's the thing I think is interesting, habit change. Because right now, most people still go to Google for most things.
What's going to be the acronym? Like, you say Google it. What are we going to say now? ChatGPT it? OpenAI it?
Well, how did her work? In the movie, you just gave it a name, right? So it'd be like Jenny or Tim or whatever you want to call your AI, right?
Yeah, he just had a name for her.
Yeah, right at the start, I think, what do you want to call me? And he's like, I don't know. And she's like, well, what about whatever she said? And he was like, oh, okay, that sounds good.
Gotcha.
Yeah, probably it'll be AI or
Jarvis.
yeah.
I really want to name my AI Jarvis. I don't care.
Yeah, but that's a copywriting tool already.
You know the story about Jasper, right? I don't know why they're like the number one GPT-3 AI tool, whatever, right? I think they're all sort of the same to me, but they were originally called Jarvis, and then
Oh, really?
Disney went after them because they're like, you can't call it Jarvis. That's our
Disney.
yeah. They had to change their name to Jasper.
Disney owns the copyright for that.
I guess so.
Is that because of Iron Man? That's the reason why they own Jarvis?
Yeah.
I didn't know that would be a trademark, though.
I don't think that you could trade back a name like that.
I don't know. Maybe because they were trying to play on a character that was developed in the IP. I don't know the whole story, but that is a true thing. Like
What if it was called Matt and then they wanted to call
Yeah.
it Matt or something, and would they go after you?
Because like last I checked, Jarvis is still a name. Like you can't, like if you want to name your child Jarvis.
No. Like let's say if I want to create a soap store and I call it Apple.
Yeah, so if it's a similar purpose, right?
Yeah, if I want to create a computer company, no way I can call it Apple, right? That's how trademarks work, right?
And Jarvis is a chat AI ultimately, right? That's what on Iron Man, it's basically an interface computer. So it's kind of what.
Yeah, it's an AI. So there's a lot of money behind GPT-3 type tools. And now if they start integrating ChatGPT, I guess that also creates a fair market because it's like kind of open source, right? So I guess I could not charge like $300, $500 per month because it's open source and then somebody else can just use it. I'm assuming here, right? I can create my own tool and then charge you $5 a month. And I think that might put a cap.
Sid created a competitor and he was venture backed as well.
Was he? I don't know. How much did he raise?
He was venture backed and he had to fold because he was beaten. Well, not beaten, but there was one other one that was winning. Copy AI, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, well, it's Copy AI, Copysmith, Right Sonic. These were like, and then Jarvis I saw, or like Jasper now. For some reason, Jasper is like winning. But
Yeah.
there was a lot of them coming up on AppSumo last year, right? And as soon as I heard about it, I was like, oh, I'm going to use this. But what I found was when I was trying to write copy using GPT-3, it was just, taking so long to fix it, right? It was not that good. So I was like, this is all garbage, right? It's gibberish, right? So then it was really good for writing social posts.
Sorry, you said you got gibberish from ChatGPT or gibberish from Jasper?
GPT-3.
Was it GPT-3 or probably GPT-2 or something, one of the earlier versions, I would guess?
No, it's GPT-3. So what would happen is like, if you're trying to write like a blog post or a script or like something like that, it's just dumb. But for social media posts, if you want the caption, like I was like, I wanted inspirational quotes for women leadership or something like that, right? I was doing this for like a client. I was able within like half an hour to get like 50 captions for social media posts. So then we pair that up with like a picture of the person, put the picture, little caption, get some hashtags, and that was like the best use case I found for GPT-3. People were trying to write ads with it, all that kind of stuff. To me, I don't think that there was. You could tell. Like I even have copywriters from the Philippines that were like writing stuff for me. I could completely tell when they're using GPT-3, right? Because it's just the language is like it's kind of like the way that Google is figuring out just kind of becomes gibberish, right? Like you read it and like it sounds like the words, like you sounds like you're smart, but like you read it and you're like, that makes no sense.
Yeah, and often I can even tell like YouTube videos are getting like this. You'll see like a script that's been paired with stock video footage to kind of create a video, and it's like the top 10, movie stars of the 1980s, and you can tell it's an AI script, AI or stock video footage, and just put together probably. Well, Andrew, you probably know all about it. So
yeah, there's a term for that. People like to refer to them as cash cow YouTube channels because they're no face, no voice channels, right? You don't have to put your name or your face or anything on there. Combine all of these different tools, and you're able to spit out these videos. I personally don't know how those channels get off the ground.
How do they rank? That's what I want to know. Yeah.
I don't find those videos enjoyable at all. If I find myself in one of them, I click out because I'm like, no, this is dumb.
I agree. Maybe it's like a long tail thing though. There's just not that many, like they pick something a little bit obscure. There's not many other videos about it.